Hey y'all, you can't see us today, but we here. And we have a special guest. One of our greatest friends, Kathy. What's your last name? Martinez?
Martinez.
Because I want to say Guzman. We're here with one of our dearest friends, Kathy. I want to say Guzman again. Oh my God. She got married 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Oh my gosh. Well, it'll be 2 years in
August.
August. Oh my gosh. 2 years ago.
Before we started shooting a couple days ago, I was thinking, okay, if I introduce Kathy, I gotta remember Martinez. Like I kept saying it to myself.
You know, it's funny when I sent out the invite, the Google invite, I wanted to type Guzman. And I could not remember your new last name. Like, I know you're married, obviously. I know you have a new last name, but I'd be forgetting. I was like, Kathy. No last name, just Kathy.
You know, and I have my email still my maiden name. And there's sometimes where the pager will hear me say Catherine Guzman, and he's like, I'm like, that's so cool though. Like,
yeah.
God forbid, hits the fan. I will be Catherine Guzman again. So don't play with me.
It's like, you know, when it's a new year and you forget to write the new year, you keep writing the old year. We've known Kathy as Guzman for over a decade.
Dude, I was writing 2018 and that's been gone.
No, you stop it. Don't do that. 2018?
Yeah, I wrote 2018 and I'm like, whoa, like I really deleted these like last 2 years of my life.
I'm not even going to ask what happened. But so we have Kat here today. And today's episode, we will be focusing on the self. And we figured that Kathy would be the perfect person to have this conversation with because I myself have had some luscious, fruitful, thought-provoking conversations with Kathy alone. And she's just all-encompassing. So we have her here today. I guess we can do a plug for you if you want your art, if you feel comfortable. If not, we can edit that out.
No, yeah, definitely. So you can find me at leopardcat28. That's my personal. And actually, let me go look at my other one so I can make sure I say it correctly. So it's Cat's art table period between art and table. Okay, guys?
No, we're gonna put the links up and everything in the description.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So and then that's also my Etsy. If anybody wants to go look at only some of my paintings are up there. I think I'm gonna open a Shopify, but let me know what you guys think. If I should or should not with Shopify. If anybody knows if that's a good website.
What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Cat's art period table.
I'm so excited to see more of your work out there because I don't know, it's just for the past couple of years, I've just been itching for you to put that stuff out.
Stuff up there, right? You know, I feel like now is the perfect time because it's really, my artwork has built up and I feel like it's gotten so much better throughout the years. And then I noticed that I keep doing like the same styles. So now I'm starting to see, like, I do have a style. I switch it up because I have a more natural style and I have a more pop art style. And they just, like, repeat each other. And the new ones always just look so much better than the last ones. And I want to show that off, actually, because I think it's so much fun. I never see, like, I follow artists and I see throughout the years, like, wow, like, their art has gotten even better. And, like, I follow them at a point where their art was amazing. So, like, to see them where they are now, it's crazy. But they don't really like to show, like, in one slide, like, the background of how I used to look to now. You have to, like, scroll. So I think that's something I'm going to work on because I only have, like, 8 posts on my Instagram. I'm going to bring everything to my apartment so I could put it all out there and just show, like, how my art has gone throughout the years and really focus on that growth because that's important to me because I don't always have time to paint, but when I do paint, like, such a therapeutic moment, and I really want to show that off, like the process and how I feel after the fact.
What would you call your theme for your paintings?
Um, hmm, just straight up feminine, like me trying to express how much I like my body. And it's so weird because right now I'm going through a period where I'm like, I don't really like my body right now, but I do want to still paint it. Like I'm still proud of it because of it, it created a whole human being. And I think it's always been my way of falling in love with me, because I went through a period of time where I was just like going out, meeting men and bringing them home to find myself more attractive. Like, oh, if I could pull these people, I know I'm cute. But when I do my paintings, it's like, no, like that's cute. I know I'm cute because I'm so inspired to paint every like curve of mine. And there's some new things I want to try this year that I've never done in my other paintings. Like just give more detail, like in the face and stretch marks. Because I've always loved the faceless woman because then anybody can be that person, and it doesn't even have to just be like a sex, like it doesn't have to just be a woman. It could just be a person that can identify with my painting if they want, like, because I feel like I use my colors to express that with my pop art section. And then all my natural pieces are always about more like rebirth and bringing in new life because I love to always have water in that painting with vegetation in the background because water, vegetation, to me that's life and purity.
They're also gorgeous. I'm excited to see how they evolve over the years because I already think they're amazing. So
can't wait to see. You've always been my biggest fan. Like I love that about you. There's a few projects that are in the works this year. So when I finally have a moment, I think I'm gonna have to wait till after school's over because I have so much homework right now. But right in like the middle of May, I already have like a schedule of shit that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give myself a break right now because I said I'm in school and everything. But this year I'm gonna try a new medium.
Yeah, I remember you when you were like working with oil, and then you had tried watercolor. Is that what it's called? Watercolor.
Water.
Yeah.
So hard to work with.
Which one would you say you like the most?
I love oil so freaking much, and I feel it's because it's so forgiving. Like, and I think that it kind of goes back to how I feel as I am as a person. Like with acrylic, it dries too quickly. You cannot make any mistakes. You have to have like full blown intentions when you're going in and know what you're doing. And most times when I go into my paintings, I don't know what I'm doing. I have a general idea of like the shapes that I want, the colors that I want, but I'm such an indecisive person. So oil gives me the ability to change my mind and then reblend and just, and then I could just take some oil and scrap that off if I don't like it anymore, which I usually never do. I just work with it. Because I like to just be okay with the mistakes and, work around it and apply it to my painting. So that's why I feel like oils is so much fun because there's so much room to forgive yourself because you're like, oh, that was a bit of a mistake, but I could make it work because it's blendable. And it takes so much time for it to dry, which I like too, because I'll look at it, like I'll see it drying and I'm like, wait, that needs to go. Like, let's go back and readjust this.
I was going to say that's a perfect metaphor for life, girl. See, this is what keeps you around, for real. Like, oh my, honestly, when Kathy speaks sometimes, I think I've told you this, CJ, it's so beautiful and,
Thank you. I got me all nervous of you.
No. It is funny you say that too, Diamond, because I was going to ask just now, like, the way you're describing how you forgive yourself for your mistakes in painting, which to me seems so like mature and whatnot. Do you see yourself having that same attitude and outlook outside of painting?
I feel like I contradict myself in my real like life. And I was talking to my therapist about this the other day. And because there'd be like, especially with my relationship, sometimes I feel like I'm so hard on my husband. And and then it's just we're all humans, we all make mistakes and so there's times where I'll catch myself like getting so aggravated with him off of just a little bit of an annoyance. And I'm like, why am I like this with my husband? Like, I'm not really like this with anybody else. I feel like I'm so peaceful with everybody else. But when it comes to my home life, sometimes I'm like the meanest me. And my therapist was saying, because I always have a high level of anxiety, the minute a little thing ticks me off, I'm ready to go to 10 because I live at like a 5 on my anxiety level. And so that little thing just gets to me. And that's something that me and her are working on right now is in my home life is being more peaceful and being more forgiving and understanding. Like I can be like that with my friends and my coworkers and my boss. Like in my work environment, people are like, oh my God, you're so nice. You're so this. And I'm like, thank you. But then when I come home, I'm like, I'm my worst behaved self. And I know it's because it's comfort and, and I know that he can handle that. And I know that he's okay with that because we've been together for so long, but I don't ever want it to get to the point where, damn, like, my anxiety levels are so high and I don't reduce them at home and it's going to affect my relationship, not even just with him, but with my children, because they're probably going to inherit that too. Cause I inherited my dad's anxiety and I just learned right now that my mom is super anxious. So I got it from both ends and I'm like, I can't give that to my kids. So right now I am in like, I would say like a transitional, like healing process, like trying to figure out how I can, be my best emotional self at home as well.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like I'm more short with my family, of the people I live with or the people that I'm really close with. And for that comfort reason too, it's like they'll handle it. They know me it's like they already love me. So, it's like, it's a poor excuse and something I would like to work on as well, even though sometimes I'm not patient enough to be patient with myself. But yeah, that's something I'd like to work on as well.
I feel you. Being patient with ourselves. I think that's why art has always been my favorite hobby, because I have to take my time with it. I think everybody would tell you, like, if you're working on something and you've already been working on it for a few hours, after maybe, because I could paint for a whole day, but I think after like the 5-hour mark, I have to stop because my eyes just don't look at it the same way. And my hands are exhausted and I need to like walk away from it. And I think that's what I have to do in my real life sometimes, not wait 5 hours, but walk away from like that feeling of I need to be annoyed. I need to be angry. Like last night, we moved out. So now we have our own apartment and I am so anal about keeping it clean because it just makes me feel more at ease when my environment is clean. And I hate going to bed with dishes because I have to wake up to that. So last night, Pedro was cleaning and I just naturally started looking around, like analyzing how he's doing everything. And so I find something. I was like, why does water look so soapy over here?
What?
Why are you over here trying to check me? And I'm like, I am so sorry. Because in my head, I was like, I gotta find something. And then I just went ahead and did it instead of holding back and just like letting him do him and like do his chores. And I walked away like, I am so annoying. Like, let me leave this space. Let me close the door and I'm gonna let you do you because you're doing me a service by cleaning up. Because I could have been annoyed and just did it myself, but that's not doing anything to help the situation.
Do you feel yourself like you're thinking something negative and you should walk away and you're telling yourself walk away, but then you decide, no, fuck it, I'm gonna lean into this anger, this annoyance? Or is it that it just happens on impulse and then you have to reflect afterward?
I feel like nowadays it doesn't happen as often. But when I first started dating him, that was like, I would just go with it. I wouldn't even stop myself, which is so like not healthy. And I'm just surprised that we made it to like 5 years together, because how the hell did he tolerate me all that time? And sometimes, you know what it is? We all have intrusive thoughts, right? And sometimes I'm out in public and I think the most meanest thoughts about people. And I'm like, whoa, you need to slow down, girl. That is not nice. Like, I'm not verbally saying it, but I'm thinking it, and I already feel guilty. And I'm like, what if they're thinking that of me? Like, that wouldn't be nice. So I always have to like self-talk, like, Catherine, don't be passing so much judgment on somebody else. Like, you don't know anything of what they're going through on that end. And I tried to like always put that human aspect into other people, which I feel like a lot of people lack is especially with the age of social media. Like, we grew up with all these different platforms, and everybody has the ability to say what they want, what they feel at that time, and like, and then feel no remorse because they could just close their phone and like not even care. And I don't like that, but because I know I do that in person. So I'm like, let me stop that. I've never been a troll, and I'm not gonna be a troll unless I'm with CJ. Then we're gonna talk shit. I can share with you.
Damn, I'm a bad influence. All right.
No, we bring out me. That's why I love hanging out with you, because you bring out like something out of me that just
the chisma.
I don't get to experience that too much. And I need that sometimes, because I do feel like there should be a little help. I don't know if this is going to make me sound like a hypocrite, but there should be a healthy amount of like sharing what you feel, regardless of what it is. But if you're sharing it with somebody who's like trustworthy and like you feel understands where you're coming from, not necessarily that you hate the world and you hate these type of people, but you just like, you need to say it to somebody.
You need to vent.
Yeah, and then you're like, that's not really nice. Let me not think that again. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. You know, and actually, I was thinking this morning, when people are like, oh, I gotta speak my truth, and so they use that as an excuse to say whatever they want to say. I'm like, yeah, but sometimes your truth is an asshole, and you gotta know when to filter it, or maybe filtering how you say it. But sometimes, you know, like that old saying goes, if you got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. But a lot of people, I'm sure, think about mean stuff because, you know, hearing you say that, knowing the thoughts that go through my head, and I've heard from quite a few people lately just admitting the nasty thoughts that come to their head. Not talking about the individual, describing the individual thoughts specifically, but just saying in general that they do get these intrusive thoughts and then they feel terrible about it. So it just seems like such a human thing to be so critical and judgmental. But it, you know, and you'll be really surprised because Kathy, for those of you who don't know her, is a ball of sunshine. Like, she's a positive person to be around. At least I think so. And when you hear people like that talk about these thoughts that they have in their head, you're like, oh shoot. But it's just kind of, for me, just shows like a lot of people think this way, and you should try to do better, but don't beat yourself up because you can't control the thoughts that come into your head. You can control how you react to them.
You know that phrase, I'm responsible for what I say, but I'm not responsible for how you feel about it. You ever heard that phrase before? That bothers me so much because I remember maybe like in 2019, I kept hearing that phrase, and it was from somebody that is a relative of mine, and I think y'all know who I'm talking about. But they used to say this all the time, just like, because that's how they were towards their partner. Like, they were mean towards their partner. They were mean towards our people. Like, they're just a person that carried a lot of like anger, and they would always use that phrase as like as an excuse to be nasty to people. And to a certain extent, yeah, you're not responsible for how I feel, but you are responsible for a part of it, because I could have gone my day without you saying that statement that hurt my feelings. You know, like, there's a lot of things that like you were saying earlier, speaking my truth, like, write that shit down in your diary. Like, you don't need to know everything that you're thinking. It's not helping me. It's not constructive criticism. Like, you're not helping me at all. And, or like, who are you? Like, you're not the golden standard to whatever situation you're telling me about. Like, I hate that. And I feel like that's kind of my fear with social media sometimes, because I do want to be more active, and I would love to show my art off more online, but I'm just like, I don't have the space for people to tell me stupid shit. you know? And I'm quick to block and delete. Don't get me wrong. I'm super quick to do that. But it's just like, you know.
I understand what you're saying, and I want to say I used to struggle with that. I used to struggle with it on both ends, like not being too concerned about what I say and how I say it and how it will affect the person I'm telling it to. And then on the opposite side of that, hearing that and then not being able to always decipher when this actually applies to me and then when someone is just being hurtful. So I get both sides, and I think, well, honestly, it's still a learning process, because I find not so much now because I don't talk to many people, and B, I seek validation, which is something that I'm actively working on as well. But I only seek it from those same people. So I guess I'm just repeating myself, but it looks a little different now. But I forgot my point. Not my point, but I forgot how I was going to connect these things.
Don't you hate that?
I do, because I feel like I was going somewhere, but I just don't remember where exactly. But yeah, basically, I understand both ends of that issue. I think that's all I got to say. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, it will. No, it definitely will.
I mean, because like Kathy was saying earlier, it's like to a certain extent, yeah, you can't control the way the person emotionally, like their initial emotion, but you can't. But also, like you were saying, you're the cause of that, and what it is that you said, and there are different ways to say things. So if you felt the need to let someone know something about themselves or whatever, you don't have to be harsh about it or aggressive about it. You know, you can pull them to this, make sure it's in private. You can, I don't know, just find ways to communicate whatever it is you feel the need to tell them. And that sort of, I want to say, is kind of a form of manipulation, because you're trying to find a way to de-escalate or prevent a certain emotion, you know, by how you say something.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. A manipulation from the person who is dishing out the manipulation of who?
Manipulating the person who is saying the thing.
Yes. Okay.
Is the manipulator. Maybe manipulating is the wrong word.
No, I agree with you, because I was thinking like they want to have authority and power. I'm thinking of one person in particular who would continue. Well, actually, now that I'm talking, I'm thinking about a couple people, but who would continuously almost, I don't know if I'm being dramatic because I'm very sensitive to the topic, but like berate me and constantly feel it necessary to put their 2 cents in when it wasn't necessary. And it was a form of manipulation, and they wanted to have power and authority over my well-being. So I think you're right, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, you touch on something a little different, but that's actually a good point too. It's like, in that sense, they're manipulating you by trying to belittle you and make you feel, I don't know, less than or submissive. But then I was thinking of another form of manipulation in a more positive light, but maybe again, manipulating is the wrong word. But so maybe influence is what I should say. Try to influence your emotions so that way you're not feeling attacked or offended, you know, by what they said because of how they say it. So you are sort of responsible for the emotion by how you're communicating to them, how you're conveying whatever it is that you're saying to them. And you can find ways to prevent, hopefully prevent, because as we said in the beginning, you can't fully control the way a person, the person themselves can't control how they feel. Like, it's just and the emotion just comes in, and then they have to find a way to manage it or react to it.
You know what? It's so funny. Sometimes I feel like I've been a suspect of doing that to people. Like, there's been times where I've had to catch myself, and I thank my husband, because he's the one that pointed it out to me. And it's not that he pointed it out to me that I'm doing something like malicious, or I'm doing it with purpose. Sometimes I feel like I want to help my family and my friends out so much that, like, I'll give them advice. And in reality, what I need to do is take a step back and just realize everybody wants to feel heard. And sometimes when somebody's telling you some stupid fuck shit, they just want to say it out loud because they want to hear themselves, because we love to hear ourselves talk. And what they need is just for you to listen and that's it. Like, you don't have to give no advice. You don't have to do anything beyond being an ear and a shoulder to cry on. And my husband really made that super clear to me sometimes, because he's like, I see where you're coming from, and I feel like you give a great advice, but sometimes you insert yourself in people's lives when you don't need to by giving the advice. You could just be there for the person by just like listening, because you like to listen to people and people come to you specifically for that, but don't give advice. Nobody's paying you a therapy session fee to give them therapy when you could just listen and then keep it at that.
Sometimes people, through you just listening and being an ear to, or it's like they're bouncing ideas off of you, but you're not saying anything, and they figure it out on their own. And that's always nice. Like they need someone to talk it through, but the other person's just not saying. It's just just knowing that there's somebody there listening helps them think through. Yeah.
Unless somebody's like, I need you to give me advice.
Diamond will tell me, like, I just need you to listen, or she'll say, I would like your advice on something.
I definitely agree that Diamond, she does make a point to tell you, like, I just need to say this.
And we should all do that.
Because I don't always want folks. I just, like CJ said, I think I do a excellent job of calling him and then bouncing my ideas or my thoughts and then figuring it out by myself. Yeah. I am still that I don't want Peter to hear me curse, but I'm still that chick.
His mama is daddy. You know what's so funny? When you're like, I feel like I always call CJ, but I'm always calling CJ on grammatical advice. Like, I need you to tell me if I'm doing this right. Like,
And I'm like, girl, I haven't been in high school, wrote a paper for how long?
Girl, and I'm not in high school either, but you are a smart ass.
You know what, though? Honestly, you should invest in Grammarly, for real.
No, I have Grammarly, and then it's funny because my school gave us Microsoft Word. Like, I have everything from Microsoft, and they have turned themselves into Grammarly, but I don't trust it all the time, because sometimes I'll listen to, like, I'll say yes to, like, their changes, and then they'll give me their grade. I'm like, when I remember, one time CJ and me, we were on the phone, and I did not expect to be on the phone this long with CJ about one paper, but I guess my paper was that bad. We were on the phone. I don't know if you remember this. It was like for 4 hours, and it was
wow.
I remember I was writing an essay on a book, on like a short story called "The Things They Carried." And I remember me and CJ walked through it, like literally every sentence. And at one point, I was a little annoyed because, like, damn, I just want to get this shit over with. Like,
yo, I will piggyback off of that because I stopped asking CJ for help for my Spanish homework. That's why I came to you, Kathy, because I'm like, Kathy's just gonna help me and go. See, yeah. I don't want the breakdown. I just want you to tell me what's wrong, fix it, so I can submit it. What did we just say? I don't want you to teach me. I just want you to give me the answer. Apply it there.
It's so funny because growing up, my mom was that way. Like, she would just do it because she's a doer. Like, she just, like, you give her a problem and that woman will solve it for you. It's part of, like, my problem when people come to me, like, and I want to solve their issues. Like, no. I hate it when my mom used to do this, especially in math, because I'm not good at math. And I'd be like, Mom, I'm going to go to school tomorrow and I'm not going to understand what I did because you did my homework for me. So then, like, there's some times in life where I said
sometimes, calm your face. And also, I'm a full grown ass woman who I'm not going to speak Spanish hardly ever because I have 2 friends who will do that for me. And also Google Translate. So F off. All right.
So, like, we have all this technology at the tip of our fingers.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I still got an A. Thank you, Kathy.
I got an A. No, Kathy got an A.
It's funny, when I was sending you back that homework, I was like, oh my God, I hope it's correct.
I should have had CJ double check.
I just say, him. And then send it back to you after this.
and then I secretly double check with Kathy, like, is this like right?
Whatever.
How many people does it take to change a light bulb?
That's funny.
So maybe we could go into the questions that we dropped.
Yes. I was actually pulling them up on my phone.
Kathy answered a lot of them, if not all of them.
Oh, for real?
But there was actually one because I wanted to ask for the first, how comfortable are you with exploring different options of therapy? But Kathy had mentioned that painting for her was therapeutic. So I wanted to ask for you too, Diamond, like, what is an activity that you find therapeutic? Because I know Diamond and Kathy, you're both in therapy. But outside,
don't be telling my business.
Sorry,
you don't know if I want folks to know that.
Sorry. So outside of, I'll take that out. Outside of talking to a licensed professional, what are some other therapeutic activities?
So I am in therapy. That was not your business to tell. No, but I actually would prefer if you answered this first, CJ, because other than reading, can people know that you like to read?
Okay.
Okay, I'm kidding. What do you do? Like, because let me start with this. I often, and I think I voiced this to you, I often feel like, I don't want to be melodramatic and be like, I'm not a good friend. But when CJ comes to me for never advice, which I'm actually a little offended for. Never advice.
That's not true.
Never advice.
That's not true.
Advice?
Right. It's like, how do you figure your shit out? Because CJ's like, this is like, what do you do?
Well,
I would like to know actually myself.
Yes.
I'm thinking I've known you for way too long. I've never given you advice.
That's not true.
Unless it's about work, CJ does not come to me for advice. I'm a listening ear, yes. Sometimes a listening ear. Look at me, I'm taking off my damn clothes. I'm so upset. Sometimes I'm a listening ear, but never seeks advice unless it's about work. So go ahead. Who is your other friend? Who do you talk to? God?
Jesus.
Who you talking
to? I think since I'm spending a lot of my time by myself, I like to teach myself how to analyze my problems, because that analytical process is so interesting to me. And so I enjoy doing it on my own, even if sometimes it gets a little uncomfortable or painful to realize what your flaws are. But that doesn't always lead to satisfactory conclusions. So I do require outside help, and I do sometimes want it. But for the most part, because I'm spending a lot of alone time, I'm using it to understand myself better. And you know what else? Reading novels and watching a lot of movies, that helps because I'm living through someone else's problems and their life and their perspective. So when I'm looking over mine, I can tackle an issue from different angles because of the insight that I got from reading this book and watching this movie and following these characters. I don't know, but something that I do that's therapeutic is dance. I do a lot of lip singing, and it's not just me sitting at my desk and pretending to sing a song or something. I would take this microphone that I have, my boom mic, and put it on a light stand and pretend I'm on stage. And I can't believe I'm admitting that to the people, but yeah, I do that. And I'll play a song, and then I will pour my heart into whatever it is that I'm singing.
Oh my God, I love that. I fucking love that. I think that's amazing, because you know how hard it is to some people can't even let loose by themselves.
Yep. I was just thinking that. Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, like to actually, because I don't do that really. Like I'll sing in the car, like I'll go off in the car, but I cannot do that really. More recently I can because I'm singing to the baby a lot. But prior to baby, I could never just be like singing and like moving around. Like I would dream of like I would fantasize really of like dancing around, but I wouldn't really do it, which is so odd that I have all the space to just dance around my apartment, but I don't.
I remember one night, Kathy, we were at Charades. It was like a group gathering, but I don't know where the group went. If they were just outside or if they actually went to town for something to pick up something. But it was just me and you in Charade's house. And we put on music and we just danced.
I remember that. That was a good night. We've had a lot of good moments in Charade's basement because I remember there was like another night where I don't even think any of us were drinking, but we were like by the bar and we were just like, woo! Like just doing all these like movements. And you know, even just moving your body like that, like that's something that I've been doing more recently is to calm myself down because I get like really anxious. So like before I'd have to hug myself. Like I don't know if you guys ever saw that little, it's not little, hold on, let me calm him down real quick. I had like crocheted a long ass scarf and I would wrap myself in and it would like calm me down. But that's like not enough for me lately because I used to smoke so much weed before. And like now that I'm breastfeeding and I have a whole human to take care of, I can't smoke because I need to be like clear headed. So now I've tried to find like new coping mechanisms and I follow these two ladies on Instagram. One of them is like a yogi. Well, she is a yogi. And then the other one, I don't even know what her workout style is, but she's like fucking fit. Like she like weightlifts and does yoga at the same time. I don't know how she does it. But they're all about like just constantly moving and keeping your body flowing. And yo, that feels so good. And it just makes me think of like how you move around in your room and like you pretend that you're on stage. Cause that constant movement really like just energizes your body. And I feel like just calms your mind or just like even distracts you for a bit, which is so important sometimes. Like to remove yourself from whatever is like causing you stress. Damn, I want to get up and do that now. Like I just want to move my whole body around.
Sometimes it's like just to throw your whole body into it. It's almost like like a ritual, like you're relinquishing whatever negative emotion you have. You just
for real. No, yeah. It is like you're just shaking it off. Did you guys hear that song about like I'm gonna wash that man out of my hair, something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I thing on your podcast, but
what is it?
I think it's a Diana Ross song. And it's like talking about she's gonna wash that man out of her hair. I feel like when you move your body and you're just like shaking it off, like you are just releasing all this like energy that you don't need on you anymore.
I mean, there is some sort of chemical component to it where in your brain, you know, this kind of movement or activity is releasing some sort of like dopamine or something like that. And, you know, Diamond, what is your therapeutic activity?
So real quick, I want to touch on what you just said, CJ, about, well, CJ started and Kathy mentioned on, about people not being, people not being comfortable alone, doing like kind of silly things or things that may just make them happy, but they're not even comfortable within themselves. And that's something that I'm also working on because you both know I'm not a dancer, period. Like, don't ask me. I don't like it. For real. Like, don't ask me. I just don't like it. I almost feel like it's public embarrassment unless I'm being goofy with it. But for me to actually try to dance, no. So this was, I don't know, very recently, I danced. And this is something that I do maybe like once a year by myself. But not only did I dance, but I danced looking at myself in the mirror because that was the disconnect, right? look like seeing myself. And I was like, damn, CJ was right. This is an uncomfortable white girl. But so yeah, but I did it, and I felt at first it was incredible. At first I'm looking at myself and I'm like being really harsh. Like, you are a fucking idiot. Literally, this is what I'm thinking to myself. You look dumb. Put a bra on. Your titties are flapping. Like, you're like all these really nasty things. And I was like, okay, just, you're enjoying the song. And it didn't last long, but it was nice. Maybe my day was a little bit better after that, but it just felt, in that moment, it felt really, really nice to just do something that I wanted to do and not be embarrassed of me and me alone. So what do I do for therapy to, so I am in therapy, like I mentioned before. And, but I want to answer the second part of the question because I want to. So, what do? I be trying to paint, but Kathy, you know this. CJ, you know this, but it don't.
The thing I said.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh my God, I want you to try it because now I want to do it. I'm like, we should get together and just do a whole art thing.
Yeah.
Draw or color all day long.
I find this, and this is something that I complain about a lot. I truly feel I am not at my peak of anything because I'm not where I want to be in life. So I can't allow myself to fully enjoy like painting, right? Or fully enjoy almost anything because there are several external factors that like push me down. So for example, with my painting, I don't have a space where I can say, okay, this is my creative space. This is my safe space. This is where I'm going to go to decompress and just allow myself to freeform, right? So the painting that I have, although it's okay, right? It's dark. It's not representative of me or how I truly feel. It's really messy, which in its own way can be beautiful, but it's not like again, I don't have a space where I can say, okay, we're going to relax. I don't even have an easel. So I'm sitting here right here, and I like to use my hands, with my hands just creating this mess, right? Which again, in its own right is very beautiful, but it's not. I'm saying all this to say, go to therapy and get your own spaces. Like, go to therapy, find a good therapist, a therapist that works for you, and create a safe space for yourself, because I feel very confined. I am very confined to my room, which in itself is, although I love it, I love being by myself, it's highly stressful for me, because I feel like I don't have any other options right now. I can stay in my room all day. Don't get me wrong. I can stay as long as I have something to eat. I can stay in my room for days on end when I want to. And the fact that I don't have the option to do something else is very, very stressful to me. And that causes a whole nother slew of issues for real. Yeah, so painting and also eating, which is partly why I went to therapy. So moving on, staying strong.
Yeah, I agree, because me, I love to be in I can be in my room, and I can go just my alone time is my sacred time. I also want the option of having alone time somewhere else. And I think that's, and I'm trying not to use this as an excuse anymore to stop being creative. Because for the longest time, I'm just like, oh, my room is like my everything. And so it's kind of blocking me from feeling creative, and because it's my workspace, and then it's my sleep space, and then it's my, like, I have no other choice space. And I remember when I was in, if I lived in the Poconos, I could go out hiking. When I was living in Philadelphia, I lived near a beautiful neighborhood, so I could go take a nice walk and really enjoy the view and the surroundings. And over here, I don't feel like I have that. But again, sometimes I'm wondering if I'm just using that as an excuse for some deeper insecurity. So,
but honestly, I don't want, I think that's also, sure, it might be deeper, it might stem from a deeper insecurity, but also don't take away, like, for me, I'm not going to take away from the fact that my living situation is not ideal, and it partly blocks other things, other feelings, right? Because when you don't feel safe at home, and I'm not saying that I live in an unsafe place, that's not what I mean. What I'm saying is that I don't have a safe, personal, 100% personal space, right? That can cause issue, that within itself. So it's not always, sometimes it's just that, like for me, it's partly just the fact that I don't have another space. Sure, I could go outside, but I don't want to go outside. I want to be able to leave my room and have another room just for what I want it for. And I don't have that ability. And I'm not going to get that from anywhere other than home.
Yeah. And I because I'm not, for me, the reason why I keep going back to is this just an excuse is because I also know that I'm lazy. So I'm wondering if I'm using the fact that I have this one room and that's it as an excuse to be like, well, this is why I'm lazy. But I do know that, like I said, when I was living in Philadelphia, when I was living in the Poconos, I was more, I did work on my art more, on my screenplays. I did a lot more writing. I even did more reading. Like I still read a lot, but it comes in waves. There are many times where I'm not reading at all because I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable. And then yeah, so I do think it is important to find that personal space, but I also have to work through my lazy bouts.
I find this so interesting with the personal space because I've never, up until I moved into this apartment, I never had a personal space to do my art. And then after being pregnant, Pedro really made a space for me to do my art. And I never did art there because then I had the baby. But prior, when I first started doing my art, I just did my art wherever the hell I pleased. Like I never did it in my room because I just didn't have a comfortable surface. Like Pedro he would accommodate me. Like he'll get like planks of wood and then like we'll cover the bed in plastic and we'll paint on the bed, but that's uncomfortable. So we would just go upstairs and I would just paint on the kitchen table and I didn't care if they were eating dinner or not. Like I'd be painting. I like forced myself into other areas because I knew that I really wanted to do this art and like I needed to just get it out of me. But the thing too is that I used to live in a home where everybody was an artist. Like my brother is an artist. My husband's an artist. My mom wanted to paint. So we'd all make it like a group effort to like, we're all going to work on a piece of art. And that's how like my pieces started coming up together because I'd be with my family. We'll all be working on something together. But it took me like asserting myself into like, well, I'm in the kitchen doing my painting. I don't care what you're doing. Like you could do you and I'm going to do me here. And I think that was just me being more of an asshole in a way. But it really helped me get into the hang of my hobby because I needed to do it. And now prior to that, I was in a headspace like, I don't have nowhere I could do it. I don't really have the skills. Like, I don't know what to do. And it took a lot of like just asserting myself and just like throwing myself into that environment of like, well, I'm just going to do it right here. And I don't want to do it in my bedroom because I just don't want to do it in there. And I'm going to do it here. And I made it work for me. And I'm so curious. I really want to see the painting that you made because you'd be surprised at something that you feel doesn't represent you can still represent you like on another level. One of my favorite people is Vincent Mango. Like if you ever look at his paintings, he has some that are like inverted in their colors. Like he has a specific color palette that he chooses. And when you learn a lot about him as an artist, like he suffered a lot with depression and like just a lot of mental health issues. And they're so dark and like there's very like little, it's very blue, like it's so like dark blues and very little bits of yellow, which is like his optimism popping through. And then there's paintings where the colors are inverted, where it's like mostly oranges and yellows and very little bits of blues. And if there are blues, they're like pastel looking blues. And those are when he was like, supposedly when he was seeking treatment. So, you know, like I have two different styles of art. But I had to learn that through time and like just like not giving up. And I think there's something very poetic about you, Diamond, like painting with your fingers. I think that that's amazing because I hate getting dirty. So it's like cool that you getting down and dirty and like, you know, you're putting literally yourself into it. Like your body is creating this piece of work. And I know you said that it's dark, but that might be a facet of you that's coming out through your hobby that you don't even realize is so much a part of you. And I would love to see if you want to show me.
No. No. I actually, you know, it's so funny. I find myself I'm looking at it right now, and I find myself wanting to rip it up. Like wanting to stomp the shit out of it. But I'm not ready to do that yet.
That's part of the process. I feel it.
Yeah, that's just part of the process. But like Kathy just said, that could be fun sometimes.
Yeah. But I'm not. I think I will destroy it. But not fully destroy it. I think I don't want to completely destroy it. There are some elements of this that I like, so I might just take those and then create something new with it. But I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm not in the space to like be creative in this way. I have like a lot going on up here, and I just want to focus on that before. I just want to figure a couple things out before I can like truly immerse myself in something that I like. I want to seek enjoyment out of, because I don't want to tarnish that for myself. But yeah, something that you said too. I'm trying not to be so negative, but here we go. I am almost envious of the fact that you said you live in a house full of artists, right? So even when you're maybe not seeking support, when you're doing your art, it's there. At least it's understood. Girl, I don't have that in my house. And that's part of the issue, because there's a lot of I want to say hostility. There's a lot of hostility. And so it's a little different.
It's not good for you to be in that.
No, girl, no.
So I hate to say like fake it till you make it, but sometimes we do have to like fake it and just like, I'm gonna believe this about myself, and I'm just gonna do it. And I'm not gonna give two fucks. And the thing with CJ was saying like about the excuses, like I'm the queen of excuses. I will put it off till I literally cannot. And I will find every reason, and I'll even make up fake ass excuses to like tell the next person, because I really just don't want to tell them the truth. And but I'm trying not to do that anymore, because that's something me and my therapist are working on actually.
I think that's why I like to be alone so damn much, because I don't have to worry about. It's like I feel like my insecurities are heightened when I'm around people, because I'm constantly comparing myself to people who are better than me, because I'm surrounding myself with people who are better than me. You know, like my friends and stuff like that. Like they have these qualities. I'm like, damn, I wish I had that. And that's why I'm with this person, because they're this kind of person. But when I'm alone, I don't have to worry about that. I could just, be me
and chill.
Golden standard.
Yeah. So
don't tell him that, please.
Well, he's not himself. That's what he is. He's his own goal.
Yeah.
But I feel you on like comparing yourself to others, but I really try not to do that. I really try my best. And it's so hard. It's like a daily struggle to not compare myself to other people. It's like, even with the parenting thing, like so many of my friends became parents last year, or were already parents and then added to their kids. Like I'll compare myself to them, and it's just like, we live so many different lives. Like there's no reason to compare each other, because we have very different circumstances. Like everybody that I know, there's not one person with the exact same circumstance as me. And that's why like I fight that every day, like not to compare myself, because it's such a comparison is a theft of joy at the end of the day.
Oh, I like that.
It really is.
I'm writing that down.
I was also thinking about how another thing why we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to each other is because I think we forget sometimes that like how our Now, it's not just that people have different walks of life, like they come from different situations and backgrounds, but it's also our minds are just wired differently. So when I look at somebody who's very ambitious and I'm just like, why am I not ambitious like that? Why? And it's like, it's my mind. For me, all of that stuff doesn't matter. I don't feel this need to like go out there and do. Like, I'm really, how you were saying earlier, finding where you're just okay. And if that's enough, like, I'm really just okay with finding my cottage in the mountains and just, being chill and not having to do so much to be successful and stuff like that in life. And in some avenues, I do need to work on that because I do want to be a filmmaker. And so I really have to push that part of myself. But naturally, I don't have these ambitions, and I have to stop feeling bad when I'm with somebody who does have them because they naturally have them. Their mind is wired that way. My mind is not.
We believe that, but we don't really know that. We believe that their mind is so ambitious, but they're sharing that with you because that's something that they know that they can share with you. And I feel like a lot of the times we're putting out what we want other people to see us as. So if you're hanging out with your film buddy, he's going to tell you all his projects because you share that with him. And he's going to share everything with you, but you don't really know his daily struggle of finding the ambition to do work every day. And
that's a good point.
So the way you feel is the way that the next person feels too. Like they're feeling insecure as well. And sometimes when they're sharing that with you, it's because they're looking for that validation of like, well, you know what? He's the right person to share this with because he's like on the same boat as me. We have different walks, but he probably struggles with this too. And he'll be like, yeah, like every day I'm doing something, but are you really though? Are you really? Like we also have to remember that.
Yeah.
So basically everybody's a fraud.
Everybody's
a fraud.
I do believe to a certain extent, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the other questions was what's something about yourself that you're not willing to change?
I don't want to change my my desire to like talk about gross things. I'm putting like air quotations because nobody's gonna see this, but they might hear it. One thing it's always been a pattern in my life, and I think that's why I know my niche in my art. Like it was easy for me to figure out what I wanted to paint. Is I love talking about bodily functions. I love talking about sex. I love talking about emotions. I want to deep dive into people's psyche. And I love doing it. And I hate when somebody tries to suppress that in me. Or like, I've literally had so many teachers and so many men and just even fucking strangers like try to suppress the things I want to talk about. And it's just like, why do you want to suppress me so hard? And that's one thing I don't want to change because I've experienced a lot, like even just with my, like I told you that I live in a house with artists, but they're not always as supportive of me. Like, if I do a new painting, they're like, oh, another vagina painting, really? And I'm like, yeah, another vagina painting because that's what I wanted to paint. That's what inspired me today. So that's one thing I want to always keep about myself because I also want my children to grow up not feeling shy about what they want to talk about. Like if you have a question, just ask it. I'd rather you verbalize it now, especially with the internet and all these crazy people online. Like I want you to genuinely do research and I want you to always be curious. And I remember one time I was taking a medical assistant course and we were talking about our periods. Like it was all women in the classroom, only 2 male students, and the teacher was a man, and we just had like a chill period, and we just were all sharing our first period stories, which I feel like is such a it's a bonding moment for women in a lot of moments. So this teacher was like, "Well, real women would not be talking about their periods." And I was like, "What would you know? What would you know as a person who's lived his life?
What's a real woman? Like
exactly
what?"
What are you talking about? Mind you, this is a man that will go around like showing off a picture of his hot daughter and like talking about how he had a really young wife. And I'm like,
okay,
you're such a creep. And I'm gonna still talk about my period in front of you even more now that I know that it bothers you. I know that it bothers you. I'm gonna tell you all about the color that it was. If it had a scent, did I have any blood clots? I'm gonna let you know.
That's so damn unfortunate, and it's so common. And you know what, honestly, I find myself sometimes, this is another thing where I have to like, whoa girl, calm down. It was, I don't remember, it was something, I don't remember what it was, but I found myself policing my own thoughts to accommodate, well, first out of my own uncomfortableness, and I had to like get out of that, because I'm like, what, I don't remember what, I think it was actually weed we were talking about. I think it was weed. And I was having like, my initial reaction was like, whoa, no, this is inappropriate. I'm like, girl, you used to be a pothead just a couple years ago. And also, what? Like, what are you even like inappropriate? It's just a conversation. It's literally a conversation. And I remember one situation very, not vividly, because y'all know how my memory's set up, but well enough. We were talking about femininity and all that comes with it, right? I should say womanhood. I don't know if that's appropriate either. Whatever. You understand what I'm saying. And was so uncomfortable. And I remember like looking at him and then looking at you to try to like shut you up. In that moment, I just did it because that's what felt natural. But I'm like, you can also just leave because you're the only man in here. And the fact that you're remaining in this room to set yourself to be more uncomfortable, that says more about you than it does us, because we are just talking about our day to day. And the fact that you can just easily remove yourself from the situation. Now, this is not what I'm thinking right then. Right then, I wanted you to shut the fuck up because I didn't want you to make him uncomfortable. But as we grow, I'm just like, well, why? Why? This is you are surrounded by women who go through these things daily. It's not like this is just natural. And you're so uncomfortable and bothered and you're trying to stifle the conversation. Why? Just remove yourself.
There was a comedian who said that if men had to bleed out their penis once a month, they would not be able to shut up about it.
Oh my God.
This is true.
Never. They would never shut their freaking mouths about it. And that's something that I think I feel like I remember that moment, but I've also talked so like personal.
Also, Kathy, I'm not gonna lie, you were very vulgar at times. Like, you'd be like, my fucking pussy. I'm like, bitch, like her parents are here. Like all right.
I've never had a problem in my house talking about it. And because you know what it is? I wasn't really raised with my dad in my house. I was just my mom. And then most of the time my mom wasn't even home. I was by myself most of my time. It was just me and Lewis, or me and my high school boyfriend, or me and my friends. Like I've never really had a lot of parental like on me. And like, that's one household where the parents are always home, and her mom always made me feel so comfortable to like just share what I wanted to share. And you made a good point. Like, you could just leave. Like, if you're uncomfortable, just leave. But people choose to stay in that situation because they want to police you and impose that on you. When it's just like, I've heard so many, not even just in that household, but I've heard men share stories, and you think I can come up to them and tell them, oh, that's not appropriate what you're sharing. Although I do that to my brother and his friends. I feel like it is my duties.
I mean, there is a line.
That there's a difference.
There is a line, because if they're talking about this woman that they were harassing, you know, that's something that you're like, okay, no, we can't. This is not okay.
Well, we can talk about it, but this is not okay.
Yeah.
Right. We can talk about how this is not okay.
Right. It's interesting how sometimes people still don't get that. Even after you explain it, they just don't get it. But, it's a process, but sometimes it's an excruciatingly long process for people to just grasp, not just that concept, just concepts, period. Right. So yeah, that's
I realized, like, you have to speak to adults a lot of the times the way you would try to communicate with a child.
Sure.
And in that way, you also had to speak to the child like the child is a human being. So, we grow up, and I think we expect our fellow adults to just know these things and to automatically be mature and whatnot. But we don't know what their education was like growing up. We don't know what their family life was like growing up, what kind of friends they were interacting with. So we have to, like Diamond said, it's a process, and sometimes a very long, arduous process. And yeah.
Wow, I feel like you said something that I actually say to one of my younger cousins. She struggles with her relationship with her mother, but her mother grew up poor in a third world country, not even with her own parents. She was raised by her aunt, and she just suffered a lot. Like, she doesn't have a lot of education. And I always have to say, like, we're the generation that we are growing up in. I feel we are fortunate because mental health and it's such a big discussion, and we feel more at ease talking about our feelings with one another, and it's encouraged more now more than ever to listen to your children. And how you said sometimes you have to talk to your children. No, I feel like you should always talk to your children as a human being, because you're instilling their communication skills at a young age. And when you have to talk to an adult like they're a child, it just shows that they weren't talked to appropriately when they were children, and their parents did the best that they could because that's how they were raised. So I feel like in a way every generation gets even better because we're always progressing, and we're always showing things that are so important to instill in children. Like, I talk to Peter like as if he is a grown ass man sometimes. I narrate my day to him, and I just, because I want him to be able to communicate with me as he grows up. I want him to, he's going to go through his like babbling stage and his 2-word sentences and 3 words. But I want him to know that I'm not going to baby talk him, and I'm going to baby him, but I'm not going to baby him to the point where people outside of my home are giving him reality checks. Like, I want him to grow up and like have expectations and realize that you have to fully communicate. And I think that that's a lot of the problems that our generation is dealing with, because we have parents that maybe didn't have the best communication skills, but that's what their parents taught them, and like, and I know that I love the episode on the kids. You can instill that on other people's kids. You could instill that in your nieces and your nephews. You can instill that like on my child. Like, I want you to always like, I love you guys so much that I want you guys to parent with me. I want you guys to give me pointers or give him pointers, or my future children. So like, I want you to always feel free that you can talk to my children and share that with them, because I trust you enough to know that whatever you say to them is going to be worthy, and it's going to come with good intention, and it's going to come with love, and will put them on the right path.
Thank you. I'm trying to do that now with my cousin that he's here from DR, and that's a rough one. That's
that all the time. You and
it's and I find myself a lot like having to stop and recuperate and reflect on the way I just treated him, because he's so much. He's disobedient. Like that's he's defiant. I'm trying to find a more understanding, compassionate way to put it, but it's like he knows what he does, what you don't want him to do, and he'll look at you to make sure that you see him doing the thing that you don't want him to do. And when I'm trying to, so I have to check myself a lot, because I feel like I'm just saying no to him all the time. You can't do this. You can't do this. And I have to remind myself, you need to explain to him why this is wrong. You need to sit down with him and figure out how he's feeling and maybe why he's doing what he's doing. And sometimes when I do that, I learn things about what he's seeing happening around him that is a big clue to why he's behaving this way. And, so then you start to be a little less mean, I guess, a little saying no a little less, and breathing a little more. You gotta freaking breathe sometimes. You just gotta stop and breathe before you respond. But, Yeah, it is hard. Communicating is so freaking hard because it would just be so easy to just be like, come on, get it together. Why don't you know this by now?
Yeah.
We're 5 years old though. That's why you don't get it.
He is 5. He is 5, and you know his background is not the greatest. So it's kind of like there's a little bit of this pressure between my grandparents and I to step in and really do what we should do to help him. But there's also this feeling like we got to teach his parents too.
Yeah.
So it's like we got to teach more than just the kid. We got to teach the parents, because at the end of the day, it's their responsibility. So like with you, Kathy, you know, I'm more than happy to step in and help if I can, but I'm also not worried that your child is going to turn out to be this monster, because I feel like you're going to be well, you are a fantastic mother. So, yeah.
Sometimes people just need like that third party to talk to, because I mean, I've always had a very open mom. Like, I feel so thankful that I'm able to share with her as much as I can. But sometimes I just don't want to. Sometimes I need like that person that's not my mom to tell me what it is. And like, they could even just be repeating exactly what she said, but because they said it, it kind of sunk in more. And I don't even know how that occurs sometimes. So, but we recently just went through something with a family member where it's like, we want to be there for you, we love you, and like we're always gonna be there for you, but I gotta love you from a distance, because all this help I'm trying to give you ain't going nowhere.
Mm-hmm. And it's bringing so much chaos into your world.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, I'll go to therapy. Find a good therapist for yourself and really work on yourselves, because
gotta shop around.
Yeah, things like this happen, and I feel, how do I feel? I just feel very vulnerable. Like, I feel like I'm always ready to cry, or I'm always ready to fight. Like, in my head, I would never physically fight. Well, never say never, but I wouldn't physically fight anyone. But I'm just all over the place with my emotions. And I'm getting mad at people who don't deserve my anger, you know?
Do you let yourself cry?
I do. You know, sometimes it's funny, because sometimes I find it hard to cry when I really want to. My body just won't do it. Unless I'm watching, like, I think the last time I cried, well, I just teared up, but like a good juicy cry, I wanted to cry for several days. And I had to put something on, a movie. I put some movie on, or whatever it was, and then I was able to cry from that. And then after that, I really thought about, like, I just allowed myself to go through it. But sometimes it's very hard for me. And is that something that you've experienced?
I went through a few years when I lived in my apartment in the Bronx side. I cried. I don't know what it was about Sundays, but I would cry every Sunday morning. Like, just viciously. Like, I would be crying for hours in my bed. I'll light a blunt, be okay, cry again. And I don't know what it was. I needed to cry. And like, I would feel so cleansed after, because I was like, damn, like, I don't know what that was about, but I cried it out. And it was, I don't know, it was just like clockwork. Every Sunday morning, crying. And recently, I haven't had too much of a reason to cry, which is weird, because after I gave birth, I was crying like at the drop of a dime because of postpartum. And yesterday I cried a little bit because I saw this really beautiful like video of this man proposing to his girlfriend. I just thought it was, and I never cried people proposing, but I just thought it was so cute. And but recently I haven't been able to make myself cry, and I kind of miss it, because I like that release that I feel after I'm done crying. But I haven't been able to do it. And I feel like I have a block in a way, and I want to figure out why it's blocked. And that's something that I'm like, I have a mental note, like, I'm going to bring that up to my therapist, because I want to cry it out. And like, I remember the first 2 months of therapy, I couldn't get through a session without crying because I'm a crybaby. But now I've been able to express myself and not cry. So I'm torn between, is it healthy that I'm not crying, or should I be crying? It's like, I'm trying to figure it out. But for you, I would say maybe you have like tougher skin, so I don't know. Like I wish I could like go in through your mind and swim around and like see what's in there. Because there's so much of you that I still want to learn more about. And I feel like I want you to be vulnerable because I feel like you're so tough, and I love that about you. But I also want you to be. I wish for you to be vulnerable with me.
You know, that's so funny that you say that, because I've heard that my entire life, and I'm almost tired of hearing like that I'm so tough, because I'm not. I am weak, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but externally you get this image, and I don't know how it's gotten to this point, and that sounds so dramatic, but it's very true, because I don't know why everyone views me as like this really. I like to be strong, sure, but I'm also not that all the time. And I'm not that a lot of the time. Not just a lot of the time, I'm not what. And it's not a facade. I feel like, okay, let me finish these sentences, okay? Because I'm getting overwhelmed right now. All my life, I had to fight.
Stop right now. Stop right now.
I wanted to say all's my life, but I was like, I'm not going to go full force. But no, I'm just being dramatic. But all my life, I was told that I was like really strong and I'm tough. And I'm like, but I'm not, from a kid, you know, like what is tough about me? Because I remember this one time, this girl liked my brother. She didn't like him. And I just was like, he doesn't like you. And then it was like, oh, Diamond this. And I know we're kids, but I understand that he just doesn't like you and I'm not being mean to you. And you guys are making me out to be like, she's mean. She's like the defender, which kind of you said, right? So maybe that's just a natural thing that I exude, right? A natural quality or trait that I exude. But on the other hand, it's like, how do you not see the vulnerability too? Like, how do you not like
ability to say no? Like I asked you, like, can I see it? And you're like, no. And I'm like, that would be my way of getting to see that part of you that you don't want to. You don't.
I said not yet.
No, not yet. Oh, okay, not yet.
I think I said not yet.
I think I heard no. Yet. I heard no, but
I said no at first, but then I explained.
No, but Diamond, do you ever wonder if, like, with so many people telling you that you're this way on the outside, that if you're subconsciously acting this way as a reaction to your insecurities?
It's like a coping mechanism.
Sure. Yeah, but I think especially now, or like now, and like I've been working on this, not to be that all the time. For example, and I don't know if this will actually relate because it's making sense in my head. I don't think this is going to relate, but I'm going to say it anyway. For example, when CJ would say, you would always say to me that I'm like mean to, if we were talking to people, I was like mean to them, right? So and it took me a long time to like maybe see what you were seeing and like be gentle with them, more gentle with just people in general, right? But then I still feel like it's not enough, you know? And like, even when I actively try to do that and like dismiss the subconscious and still, again, try to be gentle, it's still like, you're still rough. Like, what the I'm crying. How am I rough when I'm crying? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I've been hearing a lot of like, I got to get off Instagram sometimes, but I've been hearing a lot of people saying, like, we view Black women all the time as being these really aggressive and having to be strong because that's what society has put on us. And I'm like, but I sometimes feel this way and then I sometimes not. So what is it, you know? And I don't know if it is a mixture of people viewing me as just being a strong Black woman and putting that on me, and then me just being a strong person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I feel like it's so complex.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like I understand, but I don't know how to respond to it, which I feel like it's not.
I don't even know what I'm thinking. So how can you respond?
Yeah, but I get where you're going with it, and I totally 100% feel you because it's true. And like, up until a certain point in my life, and I was actually talking to Sheree about this the other day. In high school, people would always tell me like I'm a bitch, because I think it was like a demeanor that I had, but I wasn't really, because I'm the type of person that like, I have verbal diarrhea. So you just have to get me talking. I'm letting you know everything about myself. And I feel like that's why a lot of people start to see a softer side of me, because I overshare, which is not really healthy when you think about it. Because there's some people that I should not share with. So I feel like when people look to you and they want you to be vulnerable, it's because I feel as somebody that knows you, I know that I can say whatever I want, like about me to you. And I feel like you soak it in, and then that's that. And I think people want you to reciprocate it by you then exposing yourself to them. And it's just like, but you don't have to do that. And I think we all need to figure out what is vulnerability? Like, how is it truly defined? And everybody just has different levels of it. And I think, like, when I say I want you to be vulnerable with me, it's like, you know, I don't even know what I mean by that either. Sometimes I don't know what I need you to do to be vulnerable with me, because I feel like you are, like, as the years gone by, there's like a barrier that goes down and down each year. And I love that. And maybe I'm just like, I get so excited because I feel like I do get closer to you and closer to you and closer to you, that I'm like, I want to get to the end point. I want to see it all. And I think I get so excited. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know how everybody else views vulnerability. To me, it's just it's a breakdown of barriers. And I think you're so good at maintaining boundaries. And other people are like they don't even know how to set a boundary. And I think that that's the problem a lot with people on the outside. Like, they don't set boundaries. They don't know what boundaries are. And I don't know if you do it purposely or not, but like, I think that that's a good quality to have, is boundaries. And maybe that might tie into why people think you're so rough. I don't know. That's just my perspective, like, on it. Me personally. Yeah. I don't know how they did it.
I want to ask you, Diamond, how, well, actually, no, this is not, because you literally just got the book, so this wouldn't make sense. But I was going to say, how's journaling been?
Oh, I didn't start yet. So Kathy, I got this book. I got a journal. It's called a wellness journal. It's in, I'll send you a picture of it. And each day they give you the same prompt. So it's basically like, what did you eat for today? What went good about today? What went bad? Free thought, things like that. How was your mood? And I'm going to start Sunday night because I want to read. I had myself on a really good schedule, which I found helped me just in general, going to sleep at a decent hour, waking up earlier, like having structure to my day. So I'm going to start that, like I said, this weekend. But yeah, I got the journal because I am a note person. I like to write. And I also found that I haven't been doing that at all, not like at all recently. And I want to get myself back in the habit of it because A, I enjoyed it, and B, it's beneficial to like, and something else that I have been working on, but actually I don't know if I've been slacking and I have to revisit this, was depending on CJ for so much of like, of just like pouring myself out to him all the time, because that's overwhelming. So I wanted to also just use that as like a form of communication to myself and not always seeking that validation that I try to get from him. So I am working on it. See? But, yeah, so that's the reason why I got the journal. But I haven't started yet, as I mentioned. And you know what too? One thing about this, I told myself, I'm going to give myself, I think it was 6 days at a time. Write for 6 days, see how you feel. Write for 6 days, see how you feel. Instead of like setting these kind of outrageous goals, because of course I want to fill up the notebook. But when I think about that, I get very overwhelmed and intimidated by it. So I'm just like, 6 days, give yourself 6 days, see how you feel after 6 days, then regroup and then start again, So yeah, I
wonder where that comes from, because I do that with planners. I get a planner every year. And the only time I'm really good at it is when I have school. If I'm not in school, I don't use that shit, but I really want to have my planner.
Same here.
Why I get so intimidated to write anything out sometimes. And then I think it's more like a reality check of shit I got to do.
Yeah.
Or either if I don't have nothing to write, then it's a reality of like, wow, I have nothing going on in my life.
Yeah.
So I feel you, and I like that goal of like, okay, I'm gonna write for 6 days, and then I'm gonna see how I feel about it. And I think that's really cool. And then I'm so curious as like how so many people could go through the same feeling, but in like different ways. I was talking about this in my criminal justice class, like, you know, we all have a fear of something. We all share it as a community, but like in different degrees. And why is that so natural in us to have that, like to carry that fear or that anxiety?
And then we hide it from each other when we could be sharing and supporting each other.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I am an oversharer, so I don't mind sharing that feeling.
So in my social psychology class this week, we were talking about the self, which didn't look exactly how I initially thought it would, the lesson. But because I thought we were going to talk about like our feelings, and we're not doing that. This is class, you know,
It's
like I was so ready to, yeah.
My cousin just did her master's for mental health counseling. And she was like, how every class is a therapy session, basically.
That's great. So you know exactly where people are coming from. That's so wonderful. But part of the reason why, and I don't know this for certain because I only read two articles about this. But part of the reason why, so basically we're talking about East Asian civilization or culture and whatnot, and then American culture, and how in American culture we value individuality and like you are on your own path, you can create your own destiny, all these things. And East Asian, they're about community. Now, I don't know how I don't really know the breakdown because the study didn't have enough elements for me to be like, okay, well, this is what works for them, this is what works for us. Like how does actually my question in my notes was, according to psychology, what is the mental and physical benefits of both of each of these I can't even think of the word styles of community, whatever, or of course culture, and those were not answered in that report. But I say that to say, in American culture or like westernized culture, we really focus on working on yourself by yourself and like figuring it out. And I don't always think that's the best thing. Like you said, we all share these feelings, and we are all going through these we all have these issues, and we share that, but we don't know it because we don't actually share it, right? So I wonder how that looks different in different societies, because we all got issues, and why aren't we talking about it more? And like, why do I feel like I can't share it with anyone outside of the people who already know, when they're probably going through the same things, right? I feel like that's an invasion of privacy. But is it? Because, I mean, it is, because it's mine. It's my private life. But if you're going through the same thing, and why am I hesitant to like explore that with you, you know? Or how, not why is it? Because I know why it is, because that's how we grew up. But does it work better? Would it work better in a society like that as opposed to this? You know?
You know what? I do think about collectivism and individualism.
Collectivism, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah, because that's always been a big thing in my mind. And you know why I feel like it works so well in other countries is because I think it's called homogenized.
Yep. Homogenized societies.
So they're like the same. People tend to look the same. People practice the same religion. People practice a lot of the same things. So it's easier to fall into a community that's there from one another because you guys all have the same beliefs. Now, we live in America where we're a melting pot of so many different cultures and beliefs and religions and backgrounds. So it's hard to be on the same page because none of us are starting on the same page. Nobody is. And so when we try to come together as a collective, it's hard because, you know, your religion is saying one thing and my religion is saying this, and you're more spiritual. Like, I don't see life from your perspective because we have two different skin tones, so I'm treated differently. So there's so many factors that come to play here in America. And that's why I feel like individualism is it's such a rampant thing. And we live in a country where it's maybe another 100 years will be closer to being more of a collective because we're intermixing more and more now. And not even just that, but we're also respecting each other's cultures a lot more now as well. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
is he normally fussy?
When after a while, I don't touch him. Like that. But I think he wants to eat because he just woke up from his nap. And I'm like, I'm trying to get the laundry together.
Okay, so should we wrap this up?
Yeah, we should probably wrap up.
So I want to say, since this podcast is dropping on the 28th, happy birthday, Kathy!
Oh, yes.
And thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a lot of fun. Like, I think this is so much fun, and I'm so excited for you guys. I hope I don't ghetto.
Girl, no.
And for the people listening, share more with others, but also learn how to share with yourselves too. And be kind to yourselves and kind to others. And good day, everyone. I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording before you say any more.